We are back this morning with part 2 of our exclusive interview with the wife of J.D. Vance, Usha, and we talked about how their shared values of family brought them together.
Usha Vance's emotional breakdown on live TV took the nation by storm, leaving viewers stunned and questioning what led to such a vulnerable moment from J.D. Vance's wife. This heartbreaking scene unfolded as she grappled with the overwhelming pressures of public scrutiny while standing by her husband's controversial political journey. But what exactly happened to Usha Vance? Why did this poised and accomplished woman, known for her legal brilliance and strong background, break down during a live interview? Was it the result of years of mounting pressure or something deeper brewing behind the scenes? Join us as we delve into the emotional turmoil, personal struggles, and the wider political storm surrounding Usha and J.D. Vance's world. Don't miss the powerful moment that no one saw coming. Watch the full story unfold and get the inside scoop on what really happened to Usha Vance as we explore the real reason behind her emotional resignation on live TV. As the wife of J.D. Vance, an Ohio Senate candidate, Usha had long been seen as a composed and professional figure. Having carved out a successful career as a lawyer and engaging in various forms of social and political advocacy, she had established herself as someone whose personal and professional life was controlled and well-managed. However, her breakdown unveiled a side of her that had previously remained hidden from public view. The political arena, particularly at the national level, often imposes significant emotional and psychological stress on those in the spotlight. And this is true not only for the candidates themselves, but for their families as well. For Usha, the combination of her husband's high-profile campaign, the intense media scrutiny, and the weight of her own career and responsibilities likely became overwhelming. Her position as the supportive spouse of a public figure might have appeared to offer her a position of comfort and stability, but it also came with immense pressures. The expectation to remain stoic and poised while behind the scenes, the challenges of balancing personal ambitions and family life, and enduring the relentless public eye, all played a role in her emotional collapse. Additionally, Usha's role as an advocate for various causes placed her in a situation where she was expected to continuously uphold a certain image and standard, especially in the polarized political climate. The emotional and mental toll of trying to balance her advocacy work, family obligations, and the demands of her husband's campaign was undoubtedly taxing. As a person who had spent years cultivating a career based on measured professionalism and public service, the pressures of living up to such standards likely became unsustainable. Moreover, the 2024 presidential race, with all its divisive rhetoric and media attention, has created an environment in which public figures, particularly the spouses of candidates, are constantly under the microscope. Usha Vance found herself navigating a delicate balance of supporting her husband while also trying to maintain her own identity and passions. The scrutiny of her personal life, her public statements, and even her demeanor would have been unrelenting, heightening the emotional strain she faced. Behind the calm and collected persona that Usha had built over the years, there was likely a person under intense stress, grappling with the conflicting demands of family, career, and public life. Her emotional breakdown, which was caught live on television, was a stark reminder of the human toll of political life. While it was a moment of vulnerability, it also highlighted the often overlooked struggles faced by those who support political figures from the sidelines. Public scrutiny. The pressure of political life and the harsh glare of public scrutiny weigh heavily on the lives of those who are thrust into the limelight, particularly the families of political figures. While political campaigns often focus on the candidates themselves, the personal toll on their spouses, children, and even extended family members can be overlooked. Usha Vance, the wife of Ohio Senate candidate J.D. Vance, provides a stark example of how the challenges of living under public scrutiny can lead to an emotional breakdown. Her recent emotional collapse on live television exposed the struggles that are often hidden behind a poised and professional exterior. As J.D. Vance's political career skyrocketed, the Vance family found itself under an intense public microscope. This increased scrutiny was compounded by the ongoing political climate, which has been marked by growing tensions surrounding race, immigration, and divisive rhetoric. Usha Vance's breakdown serves as a reminder of the enormous pressure that political families endure. Her life, both personal and professional, had been carefully crafted over years of hard work. A Harvard-educated lawyer with an impressive background, including a former clerkship for Supreme Court justices, Usha had always maintained a calm and composed public persona. However, as JD's political career advanced, so did the intensity of the media spotlight on their family. Political life, while offering tremendous opportunities, can also be brutal on a personal level, particularly when the personal lives of politicians and their families become fodder for public discussion. In the case of Usha Vance, the public perception of her family was shaped by the political views and controversial remarks of her husband. J.D. Vance, a rising star in the Republican Party, made headlines for his sharp criticisms of American society, many of which were directed at the left and Democratic leadership. While his controversial remarks, such as his infamous childless cat lady's comment, earned him both praise and scorn, they also placed immense pressure on his family. The media's portrayal of J.D. Vance, particularly by those critical of his views, often painted him as a caricature. This portrayal didn't just impact his campaign, it affected Usha on a deeply personal level. In a recent interview, Usha spoke candidly about the emotional toll that public life had taken on her, acknowledging the difficulty of dealing with relentless negative press. "It can be difficult. Sometimes I don't see it all, and sometimes I do. When I do, I think, this isn't the JD I know, this isn't accurate," she shared, offering a rare glimpse into the emotional strain that accompanies life in the public eye. Her words resonated with viewers, who could see the weight of the scrutiny she had been under for years. As the wife of a political figure, Usha was not only judged for her own actions, but also held responsible for the controversial remarks and actions of her husband. This scrutiny often extended beyond the political realm, impacting her family dynamics, her personal choices, and even her interactions with the media. Usha's breakdown on live TV was not simply a result of her husband's remarks or the political battles surrounding him. It was a culmination of years of living under the microscope, dealing with the unrelenting scrutiny of the media, and managing the personal costs of being in the public eye. Political figures and their families are often expected to be unfazed by public criticism, but the truth is that the emotional toll of constant judgment can be overwhelming. In addition to the personal pressures faced by political families, the wider political climate also plays a significant role in exacerbating the stress. The current political environment, marked by heightened divisions along racial, ethnic, and ideological lines, has created an atmosphere in which public figures, particularly those of color, are often subject to increased scrutiny and criticism. South Asians in particular have become frequent targets of both subtle and overt racial prejudice in the political arena. As the political climate has become more inflamed, the media has increasingly questioned the electability of South Asian politicians, including Vice President Kamala Harris. In this context, Usha Vance, as a South Asian woman supporting her husband's candidacy, has found herself navigating a double-edged sword of racial and political bias. Since the onset of the coronavirus pandemic, anti-Asian sentiment has surged, contributing to a sharp increase in hate-motivated incidents targeting Asian Americans. Organizations like Stop AAPI Hate have recorded thousands of such incidents since 2020, with many targeting South Asian individuals. This climate of rising racial tension is a harsh reality that political figures like Usha Vance, who occupy the intersection of race and politics, must contend with. For Usha, the added layer of racial prejudice only intensified the challenges of being a public figure in the political arena. The scrutiny of her family, her husband's remarks, and her own identity as a South Asian woman created a perfect storm of personal and professional stress that ultimately contributed to her emotional breakdown. The contrast between the rhetoric espoused by political figures and the realities of the people affected by their words is another key element that compounds the pressure faced by political families. Former President Donald Trump, for instance, has long been criticized for his divisive rhetoric on issues like race and immigration. His remarks during the 2024 Republican National Convention were seen as a call for national unity, following an assassination attempt on his life at a Pennsylvania rally. Yet, his subsequent comments about undocumented migrants, describing them as part of the greatest invasion in history, reflected the same inflammatory tone that many had come to associate with his political persona. This rhetoric, which often targets marginalized communities, has real-world consequences for families like the Vances, who face the emotional toll of being implicated in a broader narrative of division and hatred. While Trump's rhetoric may have momentarily shifted to a call for unity, the lasting impact of his words on families like the Vances cannot be ignored. Usha Vance's breakdown was a poignant reminder of the emotional strain that political figures and their families experience, particularly when they are caught in the crossfire of a politically charged and racially fraught environment. For Usha, her emotional vulnerability was not a moment of weakness, but a testament to the immense pressure she had been under for years. The lives of political families are often defined by the intersection of personal sacrifice, public scrutiny, and the unrelenting pressure to maintain an image of composure and strength. The emotional breakdown of Usha Vance was not simply an isolated incident. It was a reflection of the human toll that political life can have on those who are caught in the glare of the spotlight. As public figures continue to navigate an increasingly polarized political landscape, the personal costs of their involvement in politics will remain a critical factor in understanding the full impact of their actions on themselves and their families. Personal sacrifices. Usha Vance's emotional breakdown on live television was a powerful reflection of the personal sacrifices and pressures that come with being the wife of a political figure. Throughout her marriage to J.D. Vance, Usha had made significant personal sacrifices to support her husband's political ambitions, often putting her own needs and career on hold. As J.D.'s rise to political prominence accelerated, the time and attention he could give to their family dwindled. The nature of a political campaign, especially one led by a controversial candidate, meant long hours, endless campaigning, and little room for personal reflection or downtime. Usha, as his wife, had to navigate these challenges while maintaining a supportive and outwardly composed role. The emotional and psychological toll of being a political spouse is often underestimated. Usha had been thrust into the public eye as JD's campaign gained momentum. While her husband's political aspirations grew, Usha's professional and personal life became increasingly overshadowed. As a Harvard-educated lawyer with a successful career, Usha had long been a capable and independent professional. However, as JD's political career took precedence, Usha found herself stepping back from her own professional pursuits to support him. The demands of JD's campaign required her to attend political events, speak at rallies, and engage with the media, all while trying to maintain a sense of normalcy for their family. This constant balancing act of being a mother, a wife, and a supportive political figure took a heavy toll on Usha. Her career, which she had worked hard to build, was often sidelined in favor of supporting JD's political ambitions. The weight of these personal sacrifices grew heavier as the campaign became more intense. With each controversy or attack on JD's character, Usha found herself thrust into the spotlight. The emotional strain of dealing with these public challenges while trying to remain supportive and composed ultimately became unsustainable. As the political environment grew more polarized and the stakes of JD's campaign escalated, the emotional pressure on Usha intensified. She had to endure the constant media scrutiny, the judgment from political opponents, and the relentless focus on her family's private life. Despite her best efforts to remain strong, the accumulation of these pressures reached a breaking point. Usha's breakdown on live television was not just the result of a single event, but the culmination of years of personal sacrifice and the emotional toll of living a public life. The intense scrutiny Usha Vance faced in the days following her emotional breakdown revealed the harsh reality of political life, particularly for the spouses of high-profile political figures. As J.D. Vance's political career progressed, the Vance family became increasingly subjected to public attention, and Usha found herself the target of media speculation. Questions arose about the impact of her breakdown on her relationship with J.D. and whether it signaled deeper tensions within their marriage. However, for many, Usha's emotional reaction was seen as the culmination of the intense personal and emotional pressures she had endured as a result of being thrust into the spotlight for so long, with little room for personal respite or reflection. At the heart of Usha's breakdown was the media's relentless criticism. Political life, especially when lived under the constant glare of the public eye, is fraught with challenges. The media, often driven by the need for controversy and sensational stories, can exacerbate these pressures. For someone like Usha, who had generally preferred to stay out of the limelight and maintain a lower public profile, the constant barrage of negative press was deeply distressing. As JD's political star rose, so did the criticism he faced, and by extension, the criticism of their family. In an interview with Fox News, Usha spoke candidly about her frustration with the media's portrayal of JD. She expressed her deep dismay over how the press reduced him to a caricature, one that didn't reflect the person she knew intimately. "You see the news, and it's just this caricature of a person," she explained, emphasizing the disconnect between the JD depicted by the media and the JD she had spent years building a life with. Usha described her husband as a genuinely good person and lamented that the complexity of his words and actions often got lost in the rush for a soundbite. "I wish people would pause, listen to his words, and try to understand their meaning and purpose," she added. Her breakdown, while emotionally charged, was not simply about the stress of being a political spouse. It was about the immense toll the media's misrepresentation of JD had on her personally. In the media-driven world of political discourse, where issues are often reduced to quick soundbites and oversimplified narratives, the nuanced reality of a politician's character and the complexity of their relationships are frequently overlooked. For Usha, the constant portrayal of JD in this way was not only frustrating but painful, as it conflicted with the person she knew and loved. The breakdown on live television was a raw and vulnerable moment that starkly illustrated the human cost of living under constant media scrutiny. Political life, for all its opportunities and rewards, comes at a steep personal price. Usha's emotional moment was a reminder of how the pressures of public life, compounded by relentless media criticism, can have profound emotional effects on even the most composed individuals. It showcased how, despite a lifetime of professionalism and strength, the weight of media misrepresentation and public scrutiny can break anyone. The real reason for breakdown. The real reason behind Usha Vance's breakdown stems from a complex interplay of external pressures, internal struggles, and the overwhelming burden of public life. As the wife of J.D. Vance, a controversial political figure, Usha was constantly in the spotlight, not just for her own actions but for those of her husband. Her prestigious legal career, which she had worked hard to build, often took a back seat as JD's political aspirations gained momentum. The media's and public's focus shifted to her role as the supportive spouse, amplifying the stress she had been quietly enduring for years. In many ways, Usha's breakdown wasn't an isolated event, but rather the culmination of numerous personal sacrifices, emotional strain, and the relentless pressure of living under the media's watchful eye. While many understood her to be a composed, accomplished woman with a significant career of her own, the emotional cost of supporting JD through his rise in the political arena was far more significant than most outsiders realized. As his political campaign progressed, the intensity of the scrutiny on Usha and their family only increased, particularly as JD's remarks and views, often controversial, attracted heightened criticism. Her role as a mother of three, a lawyer, and a political spouse created an intense balancing act that few could truly understand. While Usha continued to support her husband's political endeavors, she also had to juggle her professional ambitions and her responsibilities at home. However, despite her best efforts to manage the demands of her career, her family, and her public image, the cumulative weight of these responsibilities eventually became unbearable. The relentless media portrayal of her family, combined with JD's controversial remarks, created an emotionally charged environment that made it difficult for Usha to maintain her usual composure. Her breakdown on live television wasn't simply the result of a single stressful event. It was a reflection of years of sacrifice and the emotional toll that public scrutiny can exact on those in the political spotlight. For Usha, the constant pressure to perform as a perfect political spouse, the negative portrayal of her family in the media, and the ever-present glare of the public eye created an overwhelming burden that led to her emotional collapse. This moment of vulnerability served as a stark reminder that behind every political campaign and public figure, there are human lives affected in ways that often go unseen. Usha's breakdown wasn't just a moment of weakness, but a reflection of the immense personal cost of being thrust into the public eye. It highlighted how political ambition, while offering opportunities for success, can come at a steep emotional price for those who support the candidate and the family members who bear the brunt of public judgment. In the end, Usha's emotional reaction on live TV may have been a pivotal moment in the Vance campaign, but it also humanized a family caught in the midst of a political storm. Whether this moment will shift the narrative or simply become a temporary setback remains to be seen. However, it undeniably brought attention to the emotional toll of public life and the hidden struggles faced by political families behind the scenes. This emotional breakdown from Usha Vance highlights the intense pressure behind the political spotlight. What do you think about the impact of public scrutiny on political families? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more updates on this ongoing story.